This episode starts out with Rainbow Dash and Applejack playing a game of horseshoes, and yes, it does seem very meta. I also noticed that some of the trees in the background are multicolored, indicating that it's now autumn, which is odd. Didn't they clean up winter 2 episodes ago? Did we skip 6 months or something? Anyway, Applejack wins the game of horseshoes, and Rainbow doesn't take it well. She doesn't like losing, even in a friendly competition. She challenges Applejack to an iron pony competition.
I challenge you to an iron pony competition. A series of athletic contests to decide who's the best once and for all. You know what, Rainbow? You're on.
We cut to Rainbow and Applejack explaining the event to Twilight. She's going to be the judge and keep score, and Spike is going to be the announcer to the other main 6. So the games begin. Rainbow and Applejack are pretty evenly matched throughout the games. It actually gets pretty exciting. Eventually, they start to draw an audience as the events go on because I don't know. And Rainbow ties herself up. Don't look too deeply into that. At the halfway point, Rainbow and Applejack are all tied up and doing a push-up contest. Rainbow is about to lose when she uses her wings to help her. That is definitely cheating, but Applejack decides to be a good sport. But then Rainbow starts using her wings during every event, to which Twilight and the audience have no problem with. Even when Rainbow Dash is holding the rope in the sky in tug of war. Rainbow obviously ends up winning by a landslide.
Mudslide in your case.
Applejack calls cheating. Rainbow claims that no one said that she couldn't use her wings, so they decide to have a rematch. Tomorrow is the annual running of the leaves. It's basically a marathon, and they're going to race each other. But to keep Rainbow playing fair, she's not allowed to fly. I would complain about the cheating earlier, but they do make it clear that it's all in good fun. The next day, Spike and Twilight are on their way to the race, and Spike wants to be the announcer again. But that job is taken by Pinkie Pie, and she explains what the whole running of the leaves thing is. The ponies run through the woods to get the leaves to fall. If the ponies didn't run, the leaves wouldn't fall. Applejack and Rainbow get ready to start the race, and Applejack ties some ropes around Rainbow's wings. Okay then. Pinkie lets Spike announce with her, and most of the comic relief comes from them in this episode. They don't have much to do with anything, so I'm not going to bring up their moments. Twilight is also in the race because she thinks it'll be fun, I guess. No, she's not out of character in this episode. And Rainbow Dash and Applejack make fun of this, so I don't have to. So the race begins. Applejack and Rainbow are pretty neck and neck, and they have a stiff competition, until Applejack trips. She obviously assumes that Rainbow tripped her up. Twilight, trotting by, points out that it was just a rock. And this is the problem with Season 1 in general. Since Twilight was the only one who could write a letter to the princess, and every episode needed a moral, she was shoehorned into plots she didn't need to be in. Prime examples of this are Look Before You Sleep and Green Isn't Your Color. And yes, it's going to count against this episode. Rainbow's way far ahead and slows down, only to have Applejack pass her, and we're back to exciting race action, until Rainbow trips. She obviously assumes that it was Applejack. Twilight points out that it was the stump that Rainbow tripped over, but Rainbow doesn't buy it. In her mind, Applejack cheated, and now all bets are off. It isn't long before Applejack and Rainbow are neck and neck once again, but Rainbow decides to give herself a little bit of a lead, swinging a branch into Applejack's face. Applejack realizes that Rainbow did that on purpose, and decides that two can play underhanded. She uses the branch and springs herself forward. Then Applejack kicks a bee's nest down, which forces Rainbow to run ahead. She loses the bees and then switches the directional sign, sending Applejack off course. While she's laughing about it, all the other runners pass her without her noticing. It's only when Twilight comes by does Rainbow realize how far behind she actually is. Applejack runs to the top of a mountain where she comes to Pinkie and Spike's hot air balloon, and they take Applejack back to the race. This is also why I didn't complain about them being in this episode. They had a purpose other than spouting the moral at the end. In fact, they could have done that everything Twilight did in this episode. Back to the race. Applejack lands in front of Rainbow and kicks over a bucket of tree sap. Rainbow gets stuck in it and is now in last place. But Rainbow is able to use the sticky tree sap as a slingshot to land in first place. But this causes Applejack to go into a tailspin. That tailspin consumes Rainbow and they both end up on a ledge. The ledge breaks and they fall down. Twilight runs by and scolds them. I know they teased Twilight earlier, but she really comes off as unsufferable in this episode. So Rainbow and Applejack get back into a run and they start bumping into each other. Rainbow runs ahead and Applejack bites Rainbow's tail. Again. I told you guys she liked it. When Rainbow gets back in front, Applejack bites off Rainbow's ropes and Rainbow flies forward. Applejack hops on top of her and they go into a tumble across the finish line. They tied. For last place. Twilight comes by with a medal. No, she didn't win. She got 5th because she paced herself, and I need to call bullshit. I've got to assume that there are at least some semi-experienced runners in that crowd. And this is Twilight's first race. Pacing will only get you so far. If you want to actually place in a race, it takes practice and skill, neither of which Twilight has. Maybe the 5th or 6th year she tries she can place, but not the first one. So yeah, Twilight spouts the lesson to the princess, who arrives because she loves the autumn sights. And Rainbow and Applejack are still good friends. Yes, this was a good episode. I'm giving it a silver though. The moral was pretty good. You should never let your desire to win overpower your friendship. The comedy was pretty good with Pinkie Pie and Spike playing off each other in the hot air balloon. The action was pretty intense, just like any good race should be, and the visuals were amazing with all of the autumn leaves. The only thing holding this episode back is Twilight. She didn't need to be here. Yes, I know the show eventually moved on from shoehorning Twilight into every episode, but the point still stands. If they actually gave her something to do, aside from being an insufferable Mary Sue, then I wouldn't be able to complain. Yes, I like Twilight, just not in this episode, or any other episode she's shoehorned into.
My name's Forrest Gump. People call me Forrest Gump.